My name is Jackson, aka the Big Unit. Some of you know me as the guitar repair guy. Some of you know me as the lead singer, guitarist, and songwriter for the heavy metal band Shatterbone. Some of you know me as an electrical educator. Some of you know me as the guy with the crazy guitar collection. Some of you know me as a die-hard Raiders fan. For years I have been playing, collecting, and working on guitars and spending all my free time doing stuff with guitars. But now I'm building guitars. Well then, for these end corners here, I got nervous again. Last time I had that corner blowout on the fretboard, and not only is this ebony, it's the exact same ebony board that the last one was. So, call me overly cautious or whatever, but that makes me nervous. So I'm just going to finish those corners with a hand plane so I don't have to worry about blowing that out again.
Maybe. Well, I guess it doesn't matter since you haven't.
I haven't done squat with it yet.
I didn't know if that wood was going to press up against your fretboard, but you haven't.
It is, but since I haven't done any important shaping to it yet. Also, that's one of the reasons why I wanted wood plates instead of steel plates. For my bench.
You have to remember this part if you ever use that kind of ebony again.
Well, all ebony is that kind of ebony.
Well,
But I did it on the last build. I blew it out, and then on the other corner, I got nervous because I blew it out on the first corner, and I finished the edge with a hand clean, and it worked really nicely. And then when I repaired the chip, I used the block plane to repair the chip, and it worked really nicely. So, yeah, that's gonna be my fret corner finishing method from now on, I think. Fretboard corner. I did notice I do have a little bit of a goofy start of a transition on that ebony there. I don't think it's going to really matter because the nut sits on top of that. Yeah, it might matter just a tiny bit. So I might have to shave that down just a hair when we get to that point, but I still got shaping to do and all that stuff yet, so I'm doing this a little backwards from the last one. Last one, I radiused the fretboard before I even glued it onto the neck. This time I glued on the fretboard first. I don't know that it makes a huge difference either way, except for work holding. I'm gonna have to adjust my work holding theory here a bit, because I can't just tape the neck down to the workbench. But I could tape the neck down to that and then clamp that to the workbench. I think I might do that. I'm not sure if I'm going to clamp that down to the workbench or if I'm going to dog it in my vise. Guess I could have used accelerator, but so smart, so late. Now, my brother, once again, I asked him, and he wants to do a compound radius.
What is a compound radius again?
That's where it's flatter down here and it's curved more up here.
Does that make it sound differently?
Absolutely not. Makes it a lot more comfortable to play though. Okay, I guess I shouldn't have left the sandpaper on there from the last one. Once again, so smart, so late. Jeez Louise. Alright, so we're going to probably start out with 120 grit. Just so... I mean, I could start out with 60 grit. 60 grit's kind of aggressive, but maybe that's not a stupid idea. I'm gonna sand it all the way down to 600 grit anyway, so I might as well. Alright, so gonna do 12 here, gonna do 16 here, and we're gonna end up somewhere in the 14 range in the middle by the time we're done. Okay, so I don't see the center line anymore, so that's good. Now just
What if you scribble all over it?
to make sure that everything's sanding evenly, all those lines disappear. If it's not sanding evenly, you'll still see some of the lines. We're good. All right. Next. By the way, if you didn't watch my last build video, I discovered that putting some 600 grit on the back side of these is really nice for grip. So if yeah, there's that again if you didn't see that last time. Because I'll tell you something, they cut them, they sand them up and polish them up really nice, they gloss them, and then your hand slip slides on them as soon as you start sweating a little bit. So then you start hanging on tighter, then you get hand cramps.
Save you from all that
Nonsense. So now we have our radius knocked down. So it's sanded to the radius, which I guess I should probably absolutely confirm that rather than just assuming that my radius blocks are accurate. $12 here. Got 16 here. And about a 14-ish in the middle. Woo! All right. So now my radius is there. So all I'm really doing at this point is taking all the scratch marks from the 60 grit paper out. And then once I get the scratches from the 60 grit out, we'll go up to 240 and we'll take out the 120 scratches. And we'll go up to 320 and take out the 240 scratches. Then we'll go up to 600 and make it all shiny. Then I'll grab like a 1500, 2000 sanding sponge and make it gooder. Okay. That's one thing you got to be careful about when doing these compound radiuses, because of the fact that you're sanding two different spots. Okay, if you want to do compound radius, so unless you have come up with some magical method of doing a compound radius without having to use two different sanding blocks, what you have to do is you use one size here, and blend the middle. The only thing you got to be careful about when blending the middle is you can run into a situation where you kind of sanded a hump in the middle. So you want to be careful of that. So now we're up to 240 grit. We're up to 320. Alright, and then finally, for the radiusing blocks anyway, 600 grit. Plan for the day was to work until it got unbearable, and I think we're almost there. So
Only 82, but it feels like 90.
how does that even work? Weird.
I don't know. Humidity?
Yeah, but good grief. It's like 8 to 10 degrees hotter.
Yeah.
Is not okay. I'm levying a complaint.
That's the weather people, but
Weather people don't want to do nothing about it, and God don't want to hear it, so.
guess we're just gonna have to deal with it. We'll go inside.
That's my plan. As soon as we get this finished for the day, I think that's gonna be what we're gonna do. Go hide in the air conditioning, watch TV, watch a movie. Raiders play tonight. It's only preseason, but still, it's football. And after 7.5 months without Raiders football, I don't care if it's preseason, I'm watching football. Because I need football. Saw a thing on Facebook the other day, I thought it was perfect. It said, if football season doesn't start pretty soon, I'm going to start randomly tackling people on the street.
I think you'll get in trouble for that.
We'll use the lack of football on television for a defense. If he's a fan, he'll understand.
What if he's not?
Maybe the cop's a fan. Ooh, it's hot. Friction!
Are those the wet or dry ones?
That's why they're sponges, yes. Okay, so now we have 800 to 1,000. And really at this point we're just shinying it up. See, now the thing is, you were asking me about earlier, if you look at this, I still have fret lines. They're not as good as they were, but they're there.
I see.
And then 12 to 1,500.
I'm noticing something in the camera.
Hmm?
I'm noticing something in the camera.
You want to sing something in the camera?
I'm noticing.
Oh, good, because if you start singing, I'm going to end up getting canceled. No, I'm kidding! No, what?
This right here.
Yeah.
It looks like a shadow, like you're not hitting it very good, but you are.
Yeah. You see, this is the wood grain. See how there's a dark swatch right through here? And then there's a lighter swatch here and lighter swatch here.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's why. I'm sorry, I was just teasing you. Mwah.
I know, I won't win any prizes for singing.
It's alright. I won't win any prizes for underwear modeling, so.
I would say something, but it's not appropriate for this camera.
Yeah, well. You're biased, you're my wife. 99.9995% of the women out there would disagree with you. I tell you what, man, this looks pretty all on its own, but once you get it shined up, that wood grain really freaking pops on this fretboard. Wow.
It does. Very beautiful. You could put oil on it.
Yeah. Oh. Smooth. Gosh. Feel that. If I can just hear it when you run your finger across it.
Oh, that is.
Wow.
Just want to pet it. So smooth.
All right. Well then, fretboard's radiused. Headstock's shaped. Neck and fretboard are shaped to dimension. Okay, so another day, same outfit. I did laundry last night, and since it's been so miserable hot, this is made of the lightweight, cool material. So anyway, good friend of mine, Mike Dresch, built this guitar for me several years ago. Back of the headstock and the front of the headstock.
I didn't get the front because you turned it around
That's
too
all right.
fast.
Okay, so he built this guitar for me. It's one of my favorite guitars. I love this guitar. It's based on the PRS style, but I had it customized to my specs. But anyway, I had my brother play a few of my different guitars to get an idea of which neck profile he liked, and this is the one he likes the best. It's a little bit meatier than some necks, but not nearly as meaty as the ones I usually play. This one right here, I would say, is probably just slightly thicker than a 60s profile, or excuse me, slightly thicker than a 50s profile. It's not a slim neck at all. But it's not quite as deep as a boat neck or a fat back or anything like that. Well, I don't have a profile gauge or anything like that for this neck carve because this was done by Mike and I'm not 100% sure what he ended up going with here. But I do have a profile gauge that I can lock in place and things like that. And my thought here is I can get a rough idea of the profile with this to start out, transfer it onto something that I can then get a smoother pencil drawing on it, cut it out, trace it onto something like MDF or plexiglass or something like that, finish shape it, and then I'll have that profile. So we're gonna go at the nut first. And I want to get down to about where it meets the fretboard. I don't want to necessarily include the fretboard too, although maybe I should, because my fretboard I think is a little thicker than this one. The only other thing that's a little challenging here is these want to kind of scoot sideways. So, maybe if I go this way. What's the deal here? Oh, that went too far. That's not a good sound.
Something's going on.
Yeah. Big something.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And now we have a neck template.
Hey.
So, firstly, I know I'm gonna have to cut this down because this is yeah, almost 10 millimeters got to come off up there, and about 7 millimeters down here. That doesn't give me a, well, if I would draw like 6 millimeters here and 9 millimeters there and trace the line, that'd give me a line to follow for cut. Getting close anyway. Okay, that gets me a little bit closer to thickness. Chunky. Okay. I still gotta saw the headstock for thickness too. And I thought about doing the fret wire before I did that, and then I ended up not doing it. I guess I could still do it because I still have a flat heel and I still have not carved the volute yet. It doesn't really matter though, because if you've seen me do fret wire before, I clamp this in a vise and I have a neck rest underneath it, so it really doesn't have to be square. It wouldn't hurt anything if it were, but it doesn't have to be square necessarily. Okay, well, next I think I'm going to saw the fret slots to depth. I got my depth gauge set for the depth of the tang on my fret wire, and I already have my lines here. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of my madness. Click like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.